All right, welcome to this video. So in this video, we'll be building our first visualization in Tableau. So we'll be building our first charts. I've connected to the data source. Check my previous video on how to connect to a data source. And I'm using Sample EU Superstore data set. I'll be using the orders table. So whatever columns or data sets as displayed in here, this is just a preview of what we have here. You can see 100 per rows. So every of this column you see in here, starting from the row ID or the date, delivery mode, everything will be displayed in here. You can see it's here. So this is what we call the data pane. So I'm on sheet 1 right now, and that's where I'll be building the first visualization. So each sheet will have a visualization displayed. If I want to build a different one, I'll have to create a new sheet. And at the top here, you can see data, the data tab, and analytics. Analytics shows more advanced calculations. You can add constant line and average. So before we delve into that, let's work with the data. So this is the data pane, and we have the database name displayed at the top, which is also order sample EU Superstore. I can decide to change the name of the data set as dim fifth, and it will also change in here. Let me decide to just say I will delete others and see what happens. Press enter, and there you have it affected on the data pane. So each of the columns here is what you see in the preview in the table. Now let's look at the data pane. You can see some blue pills in here, and you can see some green pills. These are significant because blue pills represent dimensions. Dimensions are descriptive data fields in your table. So, for example, your ID, your name, labels, anything that labels a particular category, this displayed as dimension, geographical data as well. They can't be used for calculation, it can't be aggregated. So you have this thin line separating the green pills from the blue pills. This area shows where you have the measures which can be aggregated. They can be used for calculation, and you can see latitude and longitude because this can be used for computation. And each of these measures, like I said, can be aggregated when you click on this context menu. So there will be a menu attached to this tab. So you see, you can convert to discrete, you can convert to dimension, you can do as you wish on each of them. For the videos or as we progress, it will tell us the difference between discrete and dimension. But for this video, let's just stick with uh, how to build our first visualization. So we can see, I just want to show you where you can do some aggregation in here. If you want to convert to measures, you can say, if you bring this in, you can decide to sum it up, and you can see measures displayed in here, average, median, but you wouldn't see that when it comes, let's clear this. We wouldn't see that when it comes to category. We wouldn't see, except you want to count it for aggregation purposes, yes, but it will just count instances of this, not as a numeric figure. So yeah, that's how it's going to be handling it in that regard, but not as individual data points that will be summed up. So in case you see that, you will not get confused. So again, these are measures and these are discrete values, and these measures or dimensions, these are measures, don't get it confused, these are dimensions. These dimensions can be arranged hierarchically. What I mean is you can decide to arrange this section of it to make it more organized or categorized. For example, if you want customer related information to be on the same side of the pane, so you can decide to drag and drop it. Okay, so for example, if I drag this and I bring it in here to on top of it, it's going to ask me to create an hierarchy. Let me do that again. I will just drag it and drop in there. I will say customer info. So in situations where you want them to be well organized and you want everything to be labeled. You will say customer info. You can see that's created a hierarchy, and that hierarchy exists for geographic information by default. It created this by default. So now this is what I have for you, my customer information. If, for example, I want to bring in ID into it, I'll just drag and drop it in there. You can see it's just dragged, it's under it by default because I brought it in. Another way to create hierarchy is just to come to that particular field. Let's say, for example, orders information. I can come to orders data and say create hierarchy, and I will say create hierarchy, and I will say orders info, and it's going to create hierarchy based on that. Yeah, I can see it's defaulted into it. And if I want to bring other ID into it, I will drag and drop it into it. Let's see if that's gonna, this is not dragging. Let's drag row ID into it, and I can bring it underneath it. So you can do the arrangement based on that information. This is for linking, really. That is why. And again, if you want to go back and undo whatever you want to do, just press this tab. You can see it's removing all the hierarchies I created, and there we have everything. And for dimensions, or discount as well, you can rename, you can hide any of the tab in here. You can definitely do all that and rename them. So let's say I want to hide longitude because I'm not using it. Okay, this is default. These are default rows. You can see all these counts, measure values are all default rows. Okay, so that's why it's grayed out. I'll come to sales and let me hide sales, which is a very essential. Yeah, so it's hidden. I can come here and say unhide, or I can decide to come to this tab and say hide all unused fields. You can see it's going to hide everything I'm not using, and I can come in here and show hidden fields. So it's going to let me expand all. Okay, so it's everything is grayed out at the moment, but I can decide to go back in time, and yes, I will undo it. So those are the ways you can hide or unhide information on the data pane. So that's it about the data pane. So you can also create a visualization using all this data pane, and this aspect of it with this blank canvas you see is your view. We call it view. So when you want to create an information, for example, you want to understand discounts for each of the region, you will drag. You can see what I did. I put my mouse on it and I drag to maybe rows or column depending on what I want my visualization to look like, and I put in discount in here. Yeah, so you can see the region, which is a dimension, is what's grouping my measure. So my measure is aggregated based on my visualization. You can see I've created a visualization within this sheet, but it's always good if you want to create another visualization, and maybe, for example, you want to see category for by quantity or quantity by category. You can see I just clicked this icon and it created a sheet for me, and I'll bring in category again, and in this case I'll drag in quantity in there. You can see some. I can decide to change the type of aggregation. Maybe I want median or whatever. I can decide to change this like this, and I have my visualization displayed in there. So again, you need to rename your sheets. These are essential things to do. For example, if I want to rename this, I'm going to right click on it, click on the sheet and right click, and you will see rename, and it will highlight it for you, and I can say discounts by region, press enter. The same thing I can say, so it should be related to the purpose of the visualization. I can say a discount by category, and press enter. Make sure it's appropriately labeled. Okay, so that's how you can make sure that you are appropriately labeling each of the sheets for you not to get confused. So again, your if you have a field or you need a field that is not in this data pane, you have seen everything. For example, you want to create a field that shows the number of discounts for each customer, or you just want to create a different field that is not there and you just want to improvise. All you need to do is to come to the side of the pane beside the search bar and click on calculated field. Okay, it gives you this blank canva or tab window for you. You can say count of, although we can do count directly, but we can say if you want a kind of dimension that gives you the first alphabet for each of the customers. For example, I can say first alphabet in my customer name. Okay, and in that regard you can use a substring to get it, or you can use the right formula. Sometimes it just suggests, most of the time it suggests this for you as you type it, but if you want to see if that formula exists in Tableau, I will show you in a bit. So I will say left is suggesting, just like Excel is suggesting the string I want to use, and I'm going to put in customer name. Okay, you can see once it's orange, it's correct, and it's an existing data field. So a calculated field is created from an existing data field. So number of letters I want, maybe like I said, first, and I can do this. I can also wrap it up. I need just one. Yeah, I can wrap it up as upper. I wanted to return an uppercase of each of the alphabets. So the result of this calculated field will be a dimension, to be a string, not a measure. So earlier on I said if you want to know if that formula exists in Tableau, you see this arrow by the side, you click on it and you give you a list of information. If you want to say upper, for example, or it does exist. Do they have lower? Yeah, lower does exist, and you can read the description in here on how it is used. So it's brilliant. So now once I've created that, I'm going to click apply and click on OK, and you will see in my data pane that it's appearing in here. And for you to know a calculated field, you will see the equal to sign, which others do not have. So it's a created field which is not existing in the table. So when I create another sheet and bring my customer name here, you can see it has returned all alphabets, and we can use this also as a label in some cases. So you say A, B, C, and D. So it's perfect. If it's a numeric function, the same thing, create a calculated field and it's going to do that calculation for you. So that's an interesting one. I'm going to clear this off, or let's just create another sheet. Now we can use show me tab. The show me tab is at the top here. If, for example, you do not know the chart to use, everything is grayed out at the moment, but if you hover over it, it's telling you the number of dimensional measures you need for each of the tabs or charts to be plotted. If, for example, I want to just select customer name, hold down your command key if you're using a MacBook, or control key for multiple selection. I will now select maybe discounts and profits all together, and I do not have an idea of what to plot, come to show me, and it's going to show you, highlight some charts in there. Those ones that are grayed out are not, cannot be used. So I can click on one of them and you can see if it's not what I really want, you can click on another. It's looking too jam-packed. Click on this, it's too much of a thing. Let's use a tree map, it's just too much. But in this regard, we can decide to use this tree map, click on it, and however we can apply filter to minimize the data. So I do not want to have all this in there. Let's drag the customer name. Okay, the customer name is already in text. If I do not want to have this field, I'm just interested in a particular region, I want to zone in to an aspect of that data, I can bring in region into filters, and that's what filters does. So I can decide to use everything or select from the field list. I will click on central, and there you have just for central alone. Okay, you can further add another filter if you do not, if you feel you still want to zone into maybe consumer section. Click on OK. It's reducing and it's focusing more on some aspects of the data. Now I have two data fields in my filter, and how do I show this to see if in case I want to choose another selection? All you need to do is to come to that field and just say show filter. It's going to be displayed on the right hand side of the screen, and I can decide, I don't want this, I want north. I don't want this, I want south. Again, I can decide to show as much filters as I want in here. You can also see there is a color legend in here. So legend interprets the setting of your colors. It tells you, in this case, colors is used within, properties used to indicate colors. That's what's showing in here. And that means is a measure, and measure are not labels, are not categories, except we convert it to a discrete value, but they will behave like labels. But for now, they're just numbers, and so it shows the increase or the level because it's a continuous value, and that's why we have it. If we decide to choose a label into, let's use product name in colors instead. Okay, you can see that is discrete, behaves in a discrete manner. So the behavior is discrete and not continuous. Let's go back in time. So that's what legends does for us. So those are the bits and bob of how to create your first charts. We've created multiple charts, 4 of it in particular, and we'll be proceeding to create a dashboard. So, but if you hover over each of this, you can see tooltip is in there by default. Yes, this is our tooltip in here, and when we click it, you can see what is in there, and it just gives description on each of the data points. So let's go create our dashboard. We won't click on sheet at the moment, we'll be clicking on new dashboard. So new dashboard is going to be used or created using multiple sheets. So I can drag and drop depending on the position I want it to be. How fascinating. And it comes with the fields that I've shown in there. If there are other fields that you want to show as filter, you can click on this arrow, click on the particular chart, click on an arrow, and click on any of the region or whatever. Let's say region. You can see it has added it as filters. So yeah, these are dashboard, not perfectly looking, but just to bring home the concept of how to use some basic features in Tableau. Hope you find this video insightful. Thanks for watching.